Surf de boreas. It might be easy enough for your favorite German skin enthusiast to complete on the first shot. Hey! But how do you turn a 47 into a sub 40? Let me show you one ramp at a time. Before I give you everything you need to go sub 40, I want you to stare into the abyss and tell me what you see. For most, it's just noise. That's what boreas looks like before you really understand it. But once it clicks, once the lines connect, you see the full picture. So as we move through each section, don't just watch, try it. Test the skips, feel the lines, see if you can spot the cow before it fully forms. Because once you do, the mystery fades. To make it easier, we're breaking down the map into 3 sections. Skip ahead if you've already reached a certain time. If your time is hovering around 47 seconds, you've probably just gotten into surfing. Maybe this is one of your first maps. You've learned most of the basics and smoothed out the mechanics. While following the intended path, you've set a solid time. But now you're wondering, how do you possibly get any faster? First, and most importantly, while surf maps are often built with the creator's vision in mind, most Tier 1 maps are designed for comfort. The path you're shown isn't necessarily the fastest, just the easiest to understand and surf. The biggest time saves come when you start looking for cleaner lines, paths that not only keep your momentum, but actually cut down time. Shortcutting isn't just fun, it's necessary if you want to break through your plateau. And on boreas, there are 3 big shortcuts and 1 small one that make all of the difference. The first one is right after you enter the cave. The default route takes you down to the bottom ramp and then across, but if you've ever hovered awkwardly over the first ramp or skipped it entirely, you've likely felt yourself lose a chunk of speed. The shortcut here skips the bottom ramp altogether. With enough momentum, you can make a small flick off this ramp and land directly onto this one. The second spot is right after you've gone around the mountain. The ramp there curves upward and forces you to stick a landing at a 45-degree angle, then forces you to flick off again almost immediately. But if you look at where the ramp points, you'll notice a hole in the ceiling. That hole leads right back to the earlier section before you had to go under the mountain. By launching off the ramp early, you can clear the mountain and land comfortably on the ramp below, setting yourself up perfectly for the small shortcut that follows. Right after landing, you're supposed to leave that ramp and make a wide transfer to the next, but with your new speed, you can leave from the spine of the ramp, hug the wall, and land directly on the follow-up ramp. You can land on the ramp after in one go, but you'll need more air and end up bleeding time. The final shortcut is near the end. Normally, you'd swerve around the ramp, make an awkward flick, and land in the finish. But if you look closely, there's a hole right next to the last ramp that overlooks the end zone. With the speed you've carried through the map, you can flick off the second to last ramp and aim straight at the finish. While yes, it's technically possible to bounce off the snow and land in the end, that route is inconsistent, and failing a run at the very end is brutal. Ah, what a beautiful day. Pop quiz! But relax, it's a participation award, so take your phone out of your TI-84 cover, wrong answers are always allowed. Which skip gives us the biggest time save? The first one, it let us carry more speed through the early 180, so going over the mountain turned from a slow leap into a small hurdle. Now, go shave off a few seconds. Hey, congrats! You brought it down to a 43, maybe even a 42, you speedy devil. First and foremost, I'm proud of you. But if you're looking to go even faster, well, you're in for a world of pain. I could dress this up, make it look fun and effortless, but the truth is, shaving off the next 1 to 2 seconds is mind-numbingly difficult, especially the last second. So if you've got your boots on, it's time to lock in. To break into the sub 41 range, the key isn't just smoother lines, it's reducing your airtime. Every moment spent floating between ramps is lost time and often lost speed. In bad cases, we call that mooning. You want the opposite of that. You want to snap from ramp to ramp like you're glued to the course. Low, fast, and tight. Because boreas is continuous, the early ramps are everything. One of the most crucial spots is right after the second ramp. There's that annoying wall. It feels like it's mocking you. But if you reduce how much flick you need to clear it and crouch just enough to barely land to the next ramp, you'll start compounding speed for the rest of the run. If you clip into the mountain and look at the whole run, it's just a spiral that keeps going down. Most ramps are either below you or on the same level, so gravity handles most of the work, but there are 2 ramps that are actually above you, one right at the start and one at the end. For those, don't try and force a big jump. Instead, think about how you'd naturally fall into a lower ramp. Same idea here, just reversed. You want to drift up into the ramp with a smooth, controlled motion. No flicks, no overcorrecting, just let the momentum carry you. You'll use the same kind of movement when you slide off the ramp and jump over the mountain near the end. It keeps things smooth and lets you carry more speed into the final stretch. And now, one final challenge. Make it to the base of the end zone with as little airtime as possible. How much you flick and how sharply you drop depends entirely on your speed at that point. So no, I can't tell you the perfect angle. That's your job. With enough practice and the right run, you'll break the 41-second barrier. Pop quiz. When you're going for the mountain skip near the end, what's the most important thing to focus on? A. Timing your jumps perfectly. B. Aiming for the center of the mountain. C. Keeping your takeoff smooth and not overshooting. Or D. Spamming crouch midair.
It's C. The key to the mountain skip is hitting a clean takeoff and making sure you don't fly too far. Overshooting means missing the ideal glide path and losing control. Keep it smooth, controlled, and just enough power to clear the gap. Where you take off depends again on your speed and distance away.
Just like that, you should be able to break the 41-second barrier, but to move on to college, you'll need to pay the tuition. I also accept FAFSA.
Cue the celebration, right?
Break 41 and for a second, maybe two, you feel that rush, relief, joy, accomplishment. Then it fades. You start to realize just how far sub 40 still is. You replay your PB again and again, scanning every section for time to save. Maybe you scrape out a 40.5, maybe a 40.25, and still feel like you're losing your mind. And honestly, that's fair. I haven't been lying about what works. Every skip I've shown you has a purpose, but I have been holding back the bigger picture, the why behind it all. Your mission to break 40 starts with a deceptively simple goal. Get from point A to point B in under 40 seconds. Zoom in. 2 points on a single map. What's the fastest line? You might guess a straight path, a steep drop, or something in between, but physics has the answer. The brachistochrone? I don't know. A cycloid shaped curve that lets you build speed fast and carry it further. In a frictionless world like surf, this concept matters. There is a fastest way between A and B, but here's the catch. You'll almost never ride that line perfectly, because surf isn't just one ramp, it's dozens, stitched together with strafe angles, trajectory changes, and a whole lot of feeling. You don't memorize the route, you adapt to it, you test it, you listen to it. So while there may be a best way between 2 points, what really matters is how you connect the whole map, and where you decide A and B even are. And that brings us back to the start. We all launch from the same platform, surrounded by a familiar green square. And that green square doesn't care how fast you are or how clean you look. It only cares when you cross it. Jump too early and your timer starts while you're still rising. But time it right, start your run just as you're about to land, and you'll begin as close to the finish as the game will ever let you. Then come speed checks. From the first ramp, you should be hitting the second with no less than 1710 units, landing cleanly into the cup of the second. You can actually gain up to 15 units midair between those two ramps if your strafes are tight. From the second to third, your speed should climb to around 2100 units as you cross the snow patch. By the sixth ramp, you should be pushing 3000 units, and after that skip, once that eighth ramp slingshots you forward, aim for at least 3300 to stay on pace. These aren't just benchmarks, they're your checkpoints. They'll tell you whether to keep pushing or steer into a wall and reset. But here's the truth. I can't give you the perfect A and B. I can point you in the right direction, maybe offer a target landing zone. But it all depends on your speed, your angle, and where you find yourself midair. I've had thousands of runs reach the end. I've sat there, frame by frame, comparing each one to my PB, stretching moments, hunting for milliseconds, but not once have two runs ever perfectly lined up. Not once. Because that's surf. Even when you're hitting the same skips, chasing the same goal, launching from the same spot, no two runs are the same. Every attempt is a variation. Every line is a fingerprint. And that's what makes chasing sub 40 so addictive. You're not following a route, you're carving your own. I've given you the speeds, I've shown you the skips, but most of your runs still won't make it. You'll get a few hundred that finish, a few thousand that reach the mountain, tens of thousands that stumble into the cave, and hundreds of thousands that end before the second ramp. But if you do this enough, if you throw yourself at boreas, slam into walls, overshoot landings, miss skips by inches, float through gaps with millimeters to spare, if you study the lines, feel the rhythm, and trust that somewhere in this chaos is a line that works for you, you'll break 40 seconds. Not because the map got easier, but because you finally saw the count. Okay, you just saw a 40.09 second run and you're understandably upset. I've guided you from 47 seconds all the way down, and yet I don't even have a sub 40 to show for it. But what if I told you that not only could I have broken 40, I could have beaten Levi?
If it weren't for you meddly kids.
Alright, jokes aside, I've sunk a ridiculous number of hours into a beautiful map on a shit server. I don't have a list of excuses, but I do have proof that a sub 40 on Cybershock is borderline impossible, and anytime under 40, probably fake. First problem, the server got a world record of 39.12, but there's a bug right at spawn. If you bind plus turn left or right to a key and hold W, you can ramp up to 365 units of speed while still being in the starting zone. That's an instant plus 100 unit head start before you even leave the ground. And if you've been paying attention to this guide, you know just how much every unit matters in a continuous map. This exploit lets people carry a 20 to 30 unit lead all the way into the first skip, and while their lines may not be optimal, they're coasting on stolen speed. Now Levi? Levi did get sub 40 without the turn bind. Of course he did, he's the best, but that's not what cost me the run. I get stuck at 4100, Levi he hits 4400, and that's when it clicked. I'm not just surfing against a map anymore, I'm surfing against Valve itself. Even if I nailed the end, what would it mean? The idea of a world record doesn't exist anymore. Every server runs different physics, air velocity, start zones, even ramp behaviors. There are no global standards, just a dozen fragmented leaderboards, each running their own version of the game. And before anyone says just go play CS Source, I'll stop you right there. I'm not downgrading to 2004 visuals and 15-minute maps just to feel like the game works again. And no matter what part of it you decide to focus on, surf, comp, skins, movement, you'll walk away disappointed. So yeah, did I get robbed? Of my time, my sanity, my shot at sub 40? Absolutely. But I also met some of the best people in Counter-Strike. I taught some how to surf, showed others all of the skips, helped a few dial in their lines to finally break 41, and a few helped me push mine too. So before I derail this cart any further, just know I'm grateful for the ride.
Come on! Yeah!
That's it, let's fucking go!
You couldn't see it because of the
I did,
scoreboard.
yeah. I was like, I
Yeah,
don't
if you
know
want to
where the
look
fuck
up
I am.
or down, you just have to commit to
Aye.
it. Again. No.
Except for the last one. You can skip the last one.
That's my best run for sure. What the
44 is
fuck?
solid.
So leave a comment. Tell me what surf means to you. Tell me your time on boreas. Or you can call me the best. You know, I take compliments. Or hell, blame me for casually losing 100 speed on that one turn like I surf with oven mitts on. Whatever works.
I'm getting fucked by an imaginary ramp. What do I do with this? Who do I inquire about?
And if nothing else, I hope you got a hell of a story.